Planning your Saturday night can be a bit of a bitch.
Saturday night is the loneliest night in the week.
Well, it doesn't have to be. Load up Toxic Radio every Saturday night for the heavy metal happy hour with the one and only Fishman.
I know that, dude.
There will be interviews, ticket giveaways, a little bit of banter with Toxic Mike, and of course great metal from the 80s all the way through today. Starts at 7 p.m., runs until Fish says it's over.
Everyone get out!
Catch it only on Toxic Radio. Don't play it safe. Play it toxic. Hey guys, dating life gone pretty shitty?
I find you so creepy, I think you should have to walk around with a bell around your neck.
Finding yourself getting a little desperate for some female companionship?
Alexa, tell me you love me.
Hell no. You disgust me.
What you need is to upgrade your style right now. The Toxic Store's got exactly what you need. Pick up some stylish gear featuring Deviant Gamer, Toxic Radio, and the Heavy Metal Happy Hour.
Oh, yeah!
You can find the store through the Toxic Radio app or toxicradio.net. Get in the game.
Do I make you horny, baby?
Get yourself a little love.
That guy's getting boobies. Yeah, he is.
Toxic Radio and the Toxic Store. Don't buy it safe. Buy it toxic. All sports talk shows are the same, right?
I am bothered by everything.
You gotta go back to football school. The goal of this guy, it's just immeasurable.
Wrong. In a world filled with talking heads more interested in their own celebrity than actually knowing the sports world, it's hard to find the people who really care about sports first. Look no further. Wire to Wire has it all covered. These guys have the knowledge and the cred to back up their opinions. No hot takes to get attention, just straight up opinions. Know anyone else who correctly called the 2020 World Series and March Madness? How about 70% on the NFL and NCAA football last year? You don't. Bottom line, these guys know their shit. They aren't doing it for attention, they're doing it for passion. Wire to Wire, live every Wednesday, 8:30 Eastern, only on Toxic Radio and wherever you find podcasts.
Hungry for Hope Nation, your host here, Donnie Hart, and today I'm joined by not one person, but two people, two amazing people. One we had on last week, the other we've had on before. First, from last week, we're here with Team Ange, the Ange behind Team Ange.
Yes.
We got Angela.
Yes. Hello, everyone.
Angela, how are you doing? I know you're coming off your big show last week and everything. How was that?
Yeah, my debut.
Yeah.
My debut. It was fantastic. I can't thank Toxic Radio. I can't thank you enough for having me on. I've had such a blast and such an outpouring, such a huge response I've had. It's been amazing.
You were awesome. It was an honor to have you on, and it's also an honor to have on our next person, Michael Allen Belh. Mike, you there?
What's happening, Donnie? What's happening, Donnie? How you doing, man? I'm happy to be back. Happy to be back.
Mike, it's great to have you. I think you're great. You and Angela together, us all together. I think a lot of stuff you guys both say and stand for kind of go hand in hand. We had you on. You talked about your relentless pursuit. That was earlier, almost a year ago, I guess.
Yeah, it's been a while.
You discussed all that great stuff you do. Since then you got Glassboro 2021 Teacher of the Year.
Correct? I did. I was Teacher of the Year, and that was quite the honor. And the first thing I did when I got the Teacher of the Year award, I went to the people that I taught with through the years and really thanked them because really they're a piece of that. I do teach my own classrooms, but I co-teach too. And when you co-teach and you get to learn from other people and see how they teach and you get to add value to them, they become part of that too. So it wasn't like a solo. In my mind, it wasn't a solo award. It was more like a team thing for me. That's what it meant to me anyway.
Now, do you think you coming on the show, you think that's what really put you over the top for that award? Because as far as I know, no other Glassboro teachers came on the show. Would you say we kind of, you didn't thank us in your speech, I don't think, did you?
Uh-oh.
I didn't even make a speech. That speech will be at the county at the end of April, and we'll have to plug Hungry for Hope in there. And yes, it did springboard that award. Yes.
Well, if there was a podcast award, we probably would have got it for having you on this show. The ceremony, is it open to the public? It's in April?
No, it's just a county thing for every county teacher of the year for every school. They have it at like GCIT. It's a luncheon. So I'll go to that, and it's a great award. But like I said, I in my mind, that's a team thing for me, working with other people, and just being able to add value to these kids these days, man.
Yeah, man. Like for anybody didn't listen to your whole story, you're founder of Relentless Pursuit. You got Teacher of the Year. You were inducted into the Paulsboro Hall of Fame. You were a star wrestler and football player there under Paul Marina and Glenn Howard. You went to Rutgers, Division I, not just for football, but also wrestled there. You had some addiction problems, a lot of stuff, a rough childhood. You had all this stuff that put people down and out. And you were able to overcome it all. Now you're teaching. Now you're really big into the Ironman and triathletes and all that stuff. Just for anybody, there's so much to talk about you. And then we have Angela on the other hand. Team Ange.
Yeah, but triathlete is, you're not going to see me run, even if it's from a serial killer. It's just not, I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen. I just figured it would be my time if that happens.
Yeah, she's a CrossFit fitness coach, athlete, and she's currently battling stage 4 lung cancer. It's her second battle with cancer. She actually starts chemo, her 4th round of chemo next week. Yeah. So she also works in the mental health field. She has her master's in...
Yep, master's in clinical counseling psych.
So you're smart.
I is smart, Donnie.
So that's just a background on both of you guys for anybody who's not listening. We talked last week about her battle and just the attitude she's had during all of it. She's used humor to get through of a lot of it. And I just see her on these posts. Sometimes you forget how serious this battle is. Have you ever used that, Mike? Have you ever been able to use humor during like the darkest times and during just to get through bad moments? You ever found that helpful?
Yeah, I do. There'll be times where if I'm if something crossed my mind about drinking or something, and I'll think of something that I did that was really, really stupid, and I'll get a little giggling, and I'll be like, that's not the route that I want to go down. But absolutely, you got to listen. You can't take everything so seriously all the time. When you take things so seriously all the time, you're really uptight, and I think that people can't be their best version when they're being so serious all the time. You got to kind of unwind, especially being a teacher, someone working in Angela's field with mental health. It can't always be so serious because you got to be able to laugh at yourself sometimes. You got the inner critic inside telling you all the things that you can't do, right? But we got to have that positive self-talk, and sometimes I tell my students all the time, you got to have fun with this stuff. We practice mindfulness. Angela knows what mindfulness is. Everybody knows what mindfulness is. In class, we start every class out practicing mindfulness. We're sitting there. It's almost like a little bit of meditation, but the kids have fun with it. I tell them, if you can't laugh at yourself doing this in the beginning and as you're doing it, then it's not going to work. That's my opinion on that. But yeah, you got to look. Sometimes we got to make fun of ourselves into some of the things that we've done in the past and not make the same mistakes. But I think not being so uptight with everything, even when things are, doom and gloom a little bit, you got to have that positive attitude. Sometimes that's bringing humor to it.
Yeah, that's Angela, tell us more about how it's worked for you. How I know we mentioned some of it.
Yeah, I mean, like we kind of said last week, it's really difficult for people to talk about really uncomfortable things, and I feel like humor is a really great icebreaker to kind of enter those uncomfortable, sensitive, and sometimes, in my case, really upsetting and sad areas. So, and people really struggle with what to say to me sometimes with such a severe diagnosis that, if you broach the subject really kind of with a lot of humor, it opens up that door to people communicate with you.
So since you came on the show last week, Angela, how have you felt? You opened up, you said some humor, but you also said some serious stuff you haven't shared, in such a public setting. Have you noticed, Mike does the public speaking now. He shared his story, but for a while Mike didn't share his story. I know he was telling me, I think you really opened up about your story, Mike, when you did the speech for the Paulsboro Hall of Fame, right? And then you did the article with Kaiser after?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's always that moment where you kind of take this step and you say, okay, whether you might be, giving little pieces here and there, and then you're like, you know what, let me start piecing this thing together and kind of tell your story really for the first time. But yeah, the Paulsboro Hall of Fame, to my girlfriend at the time, my wife now, was really the first person I talked to about any of my issues going on.
How was that then? Not long after, I think Chris Kaiser did the article on you, in the Gloucester County Times.
Bill Evans.
Oh, Bill Evans. Chris Kaiser's the other guy who worked there with us.
Yeah.
I used to work with all them guys over there.
That's
Sean
right.
Leary.
At the old Gloucester County Times.
Yeah, when I got my accident, they felt bad, and I couldn't even go to school at the time. And they brought me in. I had crutches, my mouth wired shut. It was the only time I get out was they would bring me in. And I probably shouldn't have been out of the house. But it was a weird thing. It was pretty cool though. But how was it?
Yeah, I think it's good.
You open it up like that, and your story was out there, and you were a teacher and stuff. I know you had some issues about that. You were concerned some of the stuff in your past people might not understand and stuff. How was that? After opening up and having the article, speaking at the thing, how was the feedback? How did you feel as a person?
I mean, I thought the feedback, from people was absolutely positive. I mean, usually I don't think someone would message you and say, hey, negative. Of course, there's probably some boo birds in the back saying, hey, guy's a teacher, alcoholic, drug addict, X, Y, and Z. But listen, everybody deserves a second chance. And I think the feedback has been very positive. The thing that really got me going with it is, like Angela's in the mental health, business and helping people with that is, I had a student there was a former student of mine commit suicide. And I felt like if I shared my story with the student, maybe things could have been different, maybe not. But I thought that was important moving forward, that I'm not just educating these kids on, American history and world history. I tell them all the time, they're going to get more than an education sitting in my classroom. And I thought that by going out and speaking and sharing my story, that can eliminate one person from maybe not taking that drink and getting into the car, maybe not doing drugs, maybe stopping doing drugs, maybe deciding not to grow up and be like your parents if you don't like that. We had a situation the other day. There was a thing going on in the classroom. We were talking about, growing up in a single parent household with divorced parents and all that. And one of the kids was talking about something that they didn't like. And I said, well, look, you have to put these things in your head. And when you become adult, you have to think about, hey, this is how I remember things. And I don't want my kids growing up like X, Y, or Z. So it's been positive. And I haven't even really got this thing going yet. When I started speaking, the pandemic hit. And I told my wife the other day, I said, it looks like, as soon as we get through this here, things can kind of pick up. Bill Evans from NJ.com is, he's writing a book on my story. And I'm looking forward to it. I know it's going to be a task and I want to keep getting better. But the only way to get better speaking is by repetition. Speaking of mental health, I do run a leadership club at Glassboro. I really wanted to get involved with another club. We have a SAC counselor at Glassboro, student assistant counselor, and I told her, I said, let's start something for mental health. Let's start a mental health club, maybe with anxiety or depression or whatnot, and we're in the process of getting that going right now. So I'm interested in helping these kids. I'm meeting my leadership club on March 7th again. So I'm excited about that. we're just in the early stages though right now. So I think there's big things to come there, Donnie.
Yeah, you make such a good point. Like that's what how you say when you share your story. Like there's people, even if there's one person out there you can save or just change. You know, I felt like by not sharing our story, by not sharing my story, just for me, like I was doing the world a disservice, and that's what made me do it, because I just know that just one person, you know, they might have heard it from 1,000 people, 1,000,000 people, but they just need to hear it from one for whatever reason. Maybe they can connect to you for whatever reason. There's somebody out there who will not listen unless it comes from somebody, certain person, man. It could change the life. It could change the life of others. Because once you help that person, who knows? They might have that gratitude and they might go on and help. Angela,
That's
shared.
right. And like Angela, with Angela sharing her story, listen, you talk to anybody, man. They know somebody that has died from cancer or struggled with cancer, but it can be beaten. You know, I went to Rutgers, the Jim Valvano. You know, he stood up on that stage long ago. Everybody saw the Jimmy V speech.
It's the greatest speech ever by far.
Listen,
we talked about all last show.
Yeah, and I give Angela all the credit in the world, and she's going to beat this thing. But I had some issues myself over the past year. I had some issues where my blood levels were going low. Every count, everything, white blood cells, red blood cells, hemoglobin, and I went to get blood work done 3 times in a row, and 3 times in a row, Donnie, down low. First thing I thought, I was like, I got cancer, and went in for the bone marrow biopsy. That came back negative. Went and got 2 more blood things done. On the 4th one, I went to the hematologist, and I had to go in the back. They brought me back. There was an issue with a blood test. I was panicked at school. They called me at school, and I went over. And Angela, this thing kind of hit me when they brought me in the back, and I sat in the back where everybody was doing chemotherapy. And it kind of really, it just hit me, man. To like, you always think, all right, people have cancer, but when you sit back there and you're like, you sit down and I was just sitting back there waiting for results. It's hard to even explain what it did to me. It just did something different to me. I looked at things a little bit differently, how people were just back there fighting, doing what they do. And it's hard to say, a little bit speechless about when I was back there, but it kind of almost brought me to tears sitting back there. And I'm like, man, I say, I'm sitting around here taking some things for granted sometimes, and you're sitting back here and these people are fighting for their life.
I mean, absolutely. It's one thing to know of people getting chemotherapy. It's a whole nother ball game when you're actually seeing it in person and you're watching someone, you know, get IV chemo. The one thing I will say about chemo, granted, I'm coming up on my 4th round. I really haven't had that many rounds yet. You never get used to it. You have such a certain level of anxiety because every round is different. Your response is different every round. So the anxiety level is huge. And with the COVID, you know, when I went in for, and like I spoke about last session, when I went in for my very first round of IV chemo, we were back in the height of the next wave of COVID, and I couldn't bring anyone with me. So it was terrifying to be by myself my first round, not knowing what to expect.
Yeah. I know Angela's said this a few times, but like, it wasn't something she like asked for. Like me and you have a past where, you know, we did some stuff where it could have easily cost us our life. Some stuff we regret, some stupid decisions for whatever reason. And, you know, we would have understood if something happened to us, like consequences from them. Like we put ourselves into that. You know, you kind of expect you do something stupid. You know, there's could be deadly consequences, could be bad consequences, but that's like the thing about this. Even your health, you're doing great, Mike. Like, and you're sitting back there probably thinking like, why? I'm sure Angela, like, you ask yourself when you go through something like this. I know we talked about it. You just ask like, why? Like, what did I deserve to do this? And we talked about last week. Maybe sometimes it's something bigger than us. I know Angela said that there's people out there who might just need to hear her story, and for whatever reason they pick the strongest soldiers for the biggest fights. And I know that was hard for you, Angela. You mentioned a lot of how was it coming to terms with that? Why you didn't deserve this?
You know, I'd never, surprisingly, shockingly, I never asked why. I never questioned it. I just really feel that, you know, there's reasons why people are chosen as soldiers to go through the worst battles. So I would never question why. And like I said last show, I would never take my diagnosis back. It has made me open my eyes to what really matters and the very, very small, minuscule things that we take for granted every day.
How has it been since you came on the show? You probably, a lot of people knew your story, but they really didn't know, and some new people heard, but even some people you were close with in the CrossFit community, friends, family, whoever, they probably heard a lot of things they didn't know, and they really felt more connected. How's it been since, it's only been a week? How has it been since you came on the show?
It has been just, I've ugly cried, and we talked about that last time too. I will not ugly cry because it is very terrifying. I don't want to scare people who are watching, but the people have opened up to me in ways that, and I'm a mental health therapist, right? So I'm used to people opening up to me, but on this level where people are thanking me and saying now that they are going to share their story with other people, and saying that they were laughing and crying at the same time, and the amount of emotions that they were having watching and hearing my story, it has just been surreal.
Yeah, I'm sure you've had a lot of people talk to you. I had so many people just hit me up about it, and I think it just really puts it in perspective. Other people, because they see you, sometimes we forget that you're battling something that's so big, because you put that smile on. You try to go out there and look like everything's good, and behind closed doors you're fighting something that people forget. Like, you go to chemotherapy, your 4th round next week, right?
Yes.
Tell us about how you feel going into that next week. Is your fourth fight?
Yeah, I'm having anxiety because, a lot of people on meal prep, right? So I no longer meal prep. I chemo prep is what I like to call it. And I begin my chemo prep on a Thursday. I clean my entire house because, like I said, it's a 3-day process for me. The first day is a series of blood work. The second day, which is this upcoming Tuesday, I sit down for IV chemo where they access my port. That's a whole nother thing that you don't get used to. I don't care what people say. It hurts when they access my port. And I sit there for 3 to 4 hours, get my chemo, come back the very next day and get a chemo shot. So come Thursday, Friday, I'm in some bad shape. But, I chemo prep, I go food shopping, so I have to have all the food in my house. I have to designate, because, I live alone, I have to designate certain friends to come into my house and make sure that I am alive and make sure that I am actually physically getting up, because I am that person. Once I go down and I'm in bed, I will not wake up and I will not get up from my meds. And I have a bad habit of not answering text messages and phone calls because the pain in my skull is so severe that it physically hurts my eyes to have them open. So having some anxiety, it's not something I'm looking forward to, like, yay, here's Tuesday, I get chemo today and super excited. Not.
Now, Mike, I know you haven't gone through chemo yourself, but you do a lot of these you speak to a lot of people on, just going through stuff. Like, what would you have to say for anybody fighting any kind of battle? Maybe they're going to chemo, rehab, jail, for whatever thing they're going through. I know you do a lot of the things where you have your 7 pillars to live a successful life, 4 things you can control. Anything you would want to put on this topic?
Yeah, every day. Every day we get to control 4 things, our attitude, our actions, behavior, and our effort. And I think if we take care of the first 3 and we bring effort, we can have a successful day. And I think, like Angela's saying, some things you just got to take one day at a time and not look too far ahead with things. When I've spoken, I've had, talk about the impact with Angela. She's absolutely going to have an impact on sharing her story. Sometimes people will let her know that, and sometimes people silently will be like, man, this woman, cancer picked the wrong person, right? Cancer picked the wrong person because she's going to fight it. She's going to beat it. Speaking, I've had kids come up after every event, and they'll come up and they'll start talking about, hey, when you talked about X, I have this going on in my household too. What do you recommend? Or when you said this, it made me think of my dad, or did this and that. And I always tell them the same thing. I said, you gotta remember these things, and approach it so you don't go down the same road, with alcohol, drugs, and things like that. Cancer and some types of illnesses are different, right? Because people didn't choose them, or they didn't go out and drink and have those things happen. These are things that just happen. I think keeping a positive mindset, when things can be very, very negative, is just the best that we can do. And I think being our best version, and sometimes, right, and Angel will probably tell you, on some of those days, she's by far not her best version, but her best version is good enough. Like, you might say my best version is 95%. Well, she might be 70. That's her best version. That's her 70. Angela's 70% is better than someone's 80%. That's because how great of a person she is. And I tell people that all the time. You don't need to be at full capacity, to have your best version of a day. But you can also just stay positive and make it your best version.
Tell us more. Angela was actually looking into that. Your 4 things you control every day. We were talking about it earlier. I think it's awesome. You just want to talk about that a little more.
Yeah, I mean, every day kids walk in my class, I tell them, listen to me, bring a positive attitude. They got to bring their laptop, but what I really need is the positive attitude. If the kids bring a positive attitude, it is going to be a good day in my classroom. It's also going to be a good day, all right? You bring positive attitude, all right? You control your actions, right? Your behavior. Most of the time, if you have the attitude, if the positive attitude is there, the action and behavior is going to follow. And then the effort thing, back in the day, your coaches used to say, hey, we can't teach effort. You can't. You just got to bring it. All right. But you can tell people can tell you what they expect from you. Angela's CrossFit. She can tell people, hey, I need this type of effort from this. I tell the kids in my classroom, here's certain things I need effort on. I need this type of effort on this, that type of effort on that. Hey, we're a little bit laid back right now. You guys can put your earphones on. We're doing a little bit of reading. But I think the key for myself and for most people is if we can control those 4 things: attitude, action, behavior, and effort. Now, look, there's 5 things that we can't control, right? Can't control other people's opinions, other people's feelings, other people's actions. You can't control other people's mistakes. And the last thing is what Angela's going through, right? We can't control adversity, but we can control how we respond to it. And sitting home and not doing anything and hiding underneath the covers isn't going to help anything. We got to get up and we got to get moving. Put one foot in front of the other.
You talk about, I just always bring back some of the stuff. I feel like just you going to Paulsboro High School, man. I always go back to, you had some of the greatest coaches in the world. You had Paul Marina, one of the best coaches to ever coach high school wrestling in the nation. You had Glenn Howard. You're talking about teams that were the best in the country. You had people, even though you were going through some stuff back in high school, you had these people who just stuck by you. They're known as like the best. The things you were learned at Paulsboro through these teachers. You think that's had an impact in your life, what you're doing? You're a teacher now. You give public speaking, all that stuff. Angela coaches, she does the CrossFit, but just connecting with people. I feel like coaches have so much effect in our life. Do you feel like that's changed your life, having them?
Yeah, 100%. Glenn Howard actually is retiring. He retired.
Congratulations, Kevin Harvey.
Yeah, and Kevin Harvey's going to be the head coach. But I spoke to Glenn when he decided to retire, and I told him, and I've told him before, the impact that he had on me. A lot of the things that I do with giving back to kids in the school, and giving back to Paulsboro. I do that because of those guys, the different things that they instilled in me. A lot of it was, how to be a young man. And some of the things back in the day, I didn't really, you listen to them, but, kids are stupid. We do dumb things sometimes, and adults can do stupid things too. But when you're a kid, sometimes you don't appreciate the greatness that you're in front of. Like sitting here now, and you're talking about, Glenn and Paul, there were two coaches combined, 1,000-something wins. That's the most in the country. No duo, football and wrestling, at one school have ever won that many games. But I think the victories that they've had with kids have been the biggest impact. Look, the wins and losses, that's undisputable. But they've also led and mentored many kids. And absolutely, a lot of the things I do reverts back to the way that they coached me. And, some of it's negative stuff, like quit wrestling my senior year. And one of the things that drives me, and I told Paul this, is quitting. I use that as a tool to push myself, push myself in races. I was doing a Houston Marathon, and I was going through a rough patch. I was trying to qualify for the Boston Marathon, and hit a rough patch, and I basically talked myself into, keep on picking up the pace and finishing strong, So you use those things as, I put them in my head and use them when I need to use them. But absolutely, the impact those guys have had on me, everybody gets impacted by different people, right? In different ways. Sometimes it's negative and sometimes it's positive. And I feel like the positive stuff, most people will try to do those things in their own life. And that's a good thing, because they're passing things down, and that means that those people are doing the right thing.
Now, Angela, you just didn't wake up one day and have this courage and show everything you're showing through this. Do you feel like anything molded you, childhood, anywhere? Was there anything that you picked up on, family, coaches, friends? Like, where did this spirit just to kick ass and be a word come from? You just buy it off eBay or Amazon?
We do not have enough time in this show to talk about my childhood, so we're just going to skirt that, because it just wasn't. We're not going to talk about that. So, but I mean, I'm a true believer. My faith. I mean, I own a Bible and I own rosary beads. I don't necessarily go to church every Sunday. However, I do say my prayers every morning and every night. And I really feel, that this was given to me for a specific reason, spiritual wise.
So we have Mandy Waldron just commented, and she said, "My dad has been battling multiple myeloma for 5 years. He watched last week because I told him to. And to say speechless was an understatement. Angela, you have touched an 84-year-old man who is terminal. I thank you from the depth of my heart, because you gave him your humor, which has changed his outlook. You are making a difference. Just know that you are something special, and what you're doing is amazing. Love you."
I said I wasn't going to ugly cry, and that has brought me to, I'm going to try not to do this on the live feed, because I don't want to. And I did my makeup today for like the first time in 4 months, so I'm not trying to cry either. But
cry away.
No,
we got tissues.
Why are you always trying to make? I feel like you're always trying to make me cry, Donnie. What's with that?
We're all about. We put our feelings and emotions, because people need to see that. They gotta see that raw emotion. I'm sure Mike agrees, right? Mike, tell her to cry.
No, I mean,
absolutely. I tell kids all the time, man. I said you got to be able. Kids will ask me, "Do you ever cry?" Like, yeah, tears of joy and tears of sometimes it's sorrow, but absolutely, there's nothing wrong with showing emotion.
But don't encourage it, Mike. It's really ugly. It's ugly. That's why I will not cry on air. Do not encourage it, Mike.
Yeah, but so you never know. Like with that the lady that that message in. You never know what you're going to say or what you're going to do that's going to impact to somebody to maybe just to fight on a little bit, and listen, that's what it's really about. I think the problem is when we start to give up, especially if you're in a fight like this. You don't want to give up, because bad things happen when we give up. But for you to inspire somebody to keep on fighting, that's a good thing. And in certain circumstances, that could be life-saving, right, Donnie?
Yeah. Now, we were talking last week about, I said how sometimes I'll go on my Facebook, and they have this awesome thing where you can search what people, words and stuff, and I'll go on when I'm going through whatever. I just need maybe a bad spot in my life, and I'll go on my brother who passed away in 2014. I'll go on his Facebook, and I'll type in something, and it's like he wrote it just for me. Whatever it is in my life, I feel like it's something out of this world. I feel like sometimes he wrote them that day or something. Whatever I'm going through, it always happens. So we're testing it out the other day. We were talking, me and Angela, so I typed in the word laugh and searched my brother's thing. And the first post that came out was one from 2013. It was from the Jimmy V speech. It said, number 1 is laugh. You should laugh every day. Number 2 is think. You should spend some time in thought. Number 3 is you should have your emotions move to tears. You hear that, Angela? Could be happiness or joy. That was he wrote that while he was backpacking over 500 miles in Spain. He wrote that while he was like sitting in a tent in the middle of nowhere. But yeah, cry, laugh. Said it right there.
Always
and think. You got to think. Don't forget thinking. I forget that one sometimes. I'll do the laugh. I'll skip the thinking and go right to the crying. But that's from that Jimmy V speech. It's the greatest speech ever, to never give up speech. I think Angela watched it this week, right? What do you think of that, Angela?
Yes.
Jimmy Vano, he won the national title at NC State.
I'll tell you, it's just, it resonated with me, and it's so similar to what I was talking about on the show the previous week. So, and I'm Italian, obviously, so I got to support my other Italians.
You talked about a lot on the show last. Pop-Tarts resonate with Pop-Tarts?
Pop-Tarts, yes. We talked about Pop-Tarts, share. Last week was a great time. It really was.
We talked about cheesesteaks.
Cheesesteaks, yeah.
And we talked about how you're a warrior, you're brave, some of that stuff. I think we mentioned a little bit of that.
Yeah. And funny. Don't forget that.
Funny. But back to Mike Belh. We could talk about your Pop-Tarts and all that later.
I've been eating pot. I have actually been snacking on Pop-Tarts because I was going to do this ultra marathon, and you can eat normal when you're doing an ultra marathon. And I read some guy was eating Pop-Tarts, Angela. So I said, you know what? I'm going to start nibbling on these Pop-Tarts like mid 20-mile run.
Yes. What kind though, Mike? That's a serious
so my son has blueberry. He likes blueberry and strawberry. That's it. I was grabbing the s'mores kind, and then they're really good.
See, you put them in the microwave for a couple of seconds. Fantastic.
I was just eating them dry because when you're out running, you don't have to microwave. Look at Donnie. He's got that's it right there. That's the box I got. Yes.
I just happen to have a box of Pop-Tarts. I just keep them around. I got a bunch of shit. Don't judge me.
Don't judge me.
So I've been eating them.
Me too.
And listen, I don't. Some people can't hold them down, but I can hold them down. But Pop-Tarts is a good thing.
Now, do you heat your Pop-Tarts up, Mike, or do you just eat them raw? Like, how do you do it? Do you put them in the microwave?
I eat them just. I have had them in the microwave before, but when I'm running, I'll put it in one of the pockets.
You got a Pop-Tart pouch?
Yeah.
Where do I get a Pop-Tart pouch?
I have a Pop-Tart pouch on the ultra marathon.
It's amazing.
I just eat them. Eat them right out the pack because obviously as you're on the run, you can't heat them up. But I've heated them. Heating them up is very.
What do you prefer, Angela? Do you heat them up?
If you never had a Pop-Tart before, heat one up and let me know what you think.
Yeah, so I mean, like we were talking about last week, Mike, and just to fill you in, I've been on a CrossFit diet for decades. So we were cracking up about the Pop-Tarts because I said I have a bucket list of food. And on my bucket list of food is Pop-Tarts. And I had one for the first time in like literally 15 years and it made me cry. It was a beautiful thing. But it really depends on what kind of Pop-Tart we're talking about when it comes to, do I heat it up or do I keep it regular? S'mores is one that I feel like you got to heat that sucker up, right? I can do a regular blueberry Pop-Tart without heating it up. So it depends.
We got Mandy just saying.
After 20 miles, a Pop-Tart is, listen.
I can only imagine, but after 20 miles, I would probably, that would kill me before the cancer does, Mike. I'm just going to say, I'm not doing 20 miles.
So we got Mandy saying, I'm crying, so do it too, Ange. And then we got Sandy saying, Ange, stop touching 84-year-old men.
Well, I like what I like, and
Sandy
don't
Rossi,
knock it till you
Sandy
try
Rossi
it.
said that? She just wanted to...
Of course, it's Sandy. See, I'm not the only sick, funny one in the world we have here. Don't knock it till you try it, Donnie.
So, Mike, I was also talking about you do the thing, you do the one word. I think you give your students when they start the year, I know you've done it with your family and stuff, you tell them to think of one word. Explain it for us, to the one word thing you do. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, we just did it. My word this year is commitment. And what we do in my household is right around the roll up to the new year, we'll start thinking about our one word. And one word is very simple. And I tell the kids, this is just like me telling my students. I say, hey, if you ever heard of New Year's resolutions, everybody has, and they understand that New Year's resolutions by the end of January are done. People aren't going back to the gym. They forgot to do X, Y, and Z. They didn't quit smoking. They continued to drink. And I said, one word will stick because you're using one word to motivate yourself for the whole year. And you need to put this word in places. In our classroom, we have it up on the wall. We also ask the kids to put it somewhere in their house, a couple different places. They might be able to put it on a screensaver on their phone, laptops. I had a kid one time write it in Sharpie on his wall, and I got a call from the parent. But listen, it's a very impactful thing. And what we do is we come back and we ask these kids often, hey, what is your one word? The number one thing is to make sure you memorize it. But having a good reason to choose it and making sure that it drives you, motivates you, inspires you. Could be something, maybe you're battling an illness or you have a relative doing something. Maybe for the high school kids, one of the common ones, you get mature, grind, toughness. There's so many great words that these kids choose. And I like to check in with them and ask them, hey, how's your one word going? How has your one word impacted you up to this moment? So that's something that's been very impactful for my classes. Glassboro High School as a whole is going to be doing this next year. I got thrown off a little bit with the pandemic. I had presented it to the school. But for me and for my classroom, it's been very impactful. It's something I'll continue always to do. One word is one activity, and then I do another one. It's called the best self activity, and that is, students all the time and people in general. We think about all the negative stuff about us. I'm too fat. I don't look well. I'm this. I'm that. I'll never do this. And we don't know the positive traits, like what makes us our best self, our best version, the authentic self, like who Donnie really is, who Angela really is. What are those best self traits? And I have kids write down 10 to 13. And sometimes it's hard. Kids don't really realize, and adults, the great traits that we have that are in us. Now, there's thousands of them. And when you ask someone to put down 10 or 13, it becomes a challenge. Now, if you flip the script, because ultimately those best self traits, that's your best self, right? That's our authentic self. But if you flip the script on that and you say, hey, write down 10 negative things, you're going to get them real quick from adults, from kids. I'm lazy, I get angry, X, Y, and Z. It's interesting to see these kids be able to write these positive traits down, and sometimes they need help with it. But those are two very impactful things that I will continue to do in my classroom for a long time. Plus, the kids get to see, like I said, the great things, and when they're having an off day. Adult kids, you can say, hey, let's revisit your best self traits. Right? Because anything but your best self are just fleeting thoughts. Like, you're not lazy, you're not an angry person, you're not mean. Those are just fleeting thoughts. That's not your best self. So those are two very impactful things that I do, and I recommend usually when I'm working with people in any which capacity, whether it be a team or whatnot, like Gloucester City Wrestling. I had the whole wrestling team last year do one word. And they had a very good year this year.
You did it with me last year. You had told me, I think your word you picked last year was patience, and I think relentless the year before. And I did, no surprise, I did hungry. Hungry was my word. Not just because I was starving. It's just sometimes I felt like you get out of you're so far gone from them days that were bad. Years go by. I think sometimes you might forget, and you kind of just get like happy. You're just you put it in neutral. You stop hitting the gas. You don't put the brakes on, but you just kind of coast. And I didn't want that to ever happen. I always want to be hungry. I always want more. I always want to be better. I always want to do more. And that's the word I picked when me and you talked about this almost like a year ago. And you had
Very,
shared some of
very
your words.
impactful. You can also teams can pick a word. We have a family word, appreciate. Our family word is appreciate. We appreciate our time together. My wife's word is balance. She wants to be able. We talked about balance in our schedules, and my son's word is consistent. And for a 14-year-old, consistent is a very good word. His word was respect the year before.
Yeah, I remember that.
Very good word. Yes.
Yeah, listen.
Your
It
wife
helps
was
me build
diligent?
relationships.
Your wife was diligent. You shared. I still remember that conversation we had. That was pretty good stuff.
It helps build relationships with these kids, building rapport with them. And, kids don't want to learn from teachers they don't like. And I think when you're doing things like these, I have all my kids do grade goals and family goals. And, it adds value. It adds value to them, but it also has them see, what happens when they set goals, not just in the classroom, but at home.
That's huge.
We're going to have you pick a word later, and you're going to have to think about it. I'll send you some of the stuff Mike sent me. He has some stuff to help you think about it. It's pretty cool, and you write it down, just think about it. But what word's going through? You're sitting here, you start the chemo next week. Any thoughts? You have all these people caring for you. We mentioned we're doing the Team Ange shirts. We post online. We got the Team Ange shirts. We should have them say next week or whatever. You can comment online to find out any sizes people need. And they have the punch, the boxing glove on the front. Says her fight is my fight. Team Ange. And what's the other one? Says the two
on the T-shirt.
Yeah.
Her fight is my fight.
Yeah. What's the other? It says Team Ange, and then it says there's another hashtag. That is a hashtag.
Fight. Yeah. Her fight is my fight.
But
I mean,
so you have all these people support you, everything going on. What's going on in your head, Angela? Let me hear you.
My word is Pop-Tarts. I mean, like I said, I'm a little anxious because I don't know what to expect. My first round was such a difficult round to get over. My second round was I was pleasantly surprised. My third round kicked my butt, and so I'm really curious what the fourth round is going to bring me. And I really hope that the fourth round, the oncologist is going to start to be able to do scans to see if the chemo, if the cancer is even responding to the chemo.
Your mom just said, Angela, you need a Pop-Tart pouch. I just want to throw that out there not to get you off.
So my mom said that?
Yeah, said you need an Angela Pop-Tart. Love mom.
Wow.
Or you need a Pop-Tart pouch. And
I think her mom was talking about those fanny packs, right? So Ange can roll up.
We used to wear them at wrestling.
I got a fanny pack.
You could have been a pro wrestler if you had one. That was like the part of being a pro wrestler.
Fanny packs are back in.
She can roll up into the chemo thing. She wants to have them laughing in there. She can tell everybody her name's Pop-Tart Ange.
It's funny that you said roll up, Mike, because I have a whole video planned for because I did a Valentine's Day video because my third session was during Valentine's Day. So I did this whole funny, hilarious Valentine's Day chemo video. So I have to up the ante. So roll is going to be, hopefully, can you get banned from a chemo building?
I don't know. We'll come fight. We'll protest.
We're about to find out come Tuesday.
I'll fight doctors. Whatever we got to do, we'll send the team over there. Team Ange will come in. Whoever we got to smack to get you back in, then we'll do it. We're Team Ange.
Yeah, we're about to see if we can get. Hopefully the nurses aren't going to be too upset with me with what I have planned.
I've been banned from worse. It's okay. But so you got this going on. What else is going besides the Pop-Tart pouch and everything else?
Just chemo prep. I mean, right now, I'll have really bad insomnia come Monday night because I'm nervous about Tuesday. And then and the funny thing about chemo is they give you the day of chemo. You leave there feeling like amazing. I might be able to do a triathlon after that. That's how good you feel leaving chemo because they pump you full of the good IV steroids and the good vitamins. You
said a couple days later, though, that's when it starts.
Yeah, a couple days later, all of a sudden, I won't say anything. I'll just disappear, and I will be in bed, and I'm pretty much down for a couple days. So hopefully, it's just going to be a couple days this time.
Couple days.
Put out whatever you work out in for for CrossFit, I know you have some gear that you work out with. Take your shoes out, take your clothes out, put it on something in your room. So every time if you're feeling down, you can look at that workout gear and be like, that's where I'm headed as soon as I'm
Yeah.
out of this situation.
Well, you know what I do, Mike? I set up a little table with my chemo painkillers and my snacks, and that's kind of what keeps me motivated. I'm just saying, those chemo meds, I'll tell you what, like I refuse to throw up. I refuse. You ask anyone who's been, on my downtimes, I talk myself out of vomiting because it's not like, oh, I drank too much or I ate too much and if I vomit I'll feel better. Once you open those floodgates, that's it. So I'm on a slew of nausea meds and I talk myself out of vomiting like a champion.
Positive self-talk, right?
Yes, thank you. Positive self-talk like a champ.
It's all about thinking in your mind. I'm just going through some of the messages Angela got last week that she was sharing. We got the one with, I cried my eyes out watching your podcast tonight. Through my tears, you made me laugh hysterically. You are an inspiration of hope and strength. Keep fighting. Then another one said, saw your interview. You're amazing for real. I hope you receive a miracle. Your story is incredible. And then, honestly, though, your story, everything about it, and you has the power to affect countless people. I deal in the business of hope, and you are hope. There's some of the messages you were sharing. I just wanted to, how did that feel having people reach out to you like that, Angie? You probably didn't know.
It truly is amazing because, my career is mental health. So I know that I'm helping people on a daily, but when you get these routine messages from people who, you're just kind of liking and commenting posts on Facebook, when these messages come through, it's those reminders of the small things that we take for granted. I don't think I'm anyone special. It's really everyone else who's inspiring me to keep fighting. And I just need people to know that. I am not the inspiration. It's everyone else who's inspiring me.
We got another one live right now from Taya Lure. She says, hi, Angela. I'm Nickette's daughter. I watched your last podcast with some of my friends today in school lunch. They say you and I have the same humor when it comes to our battles. Same humor. I already like her. Anyway, she said, I just wanted to say that you definitely influence us to just live and have fun in this life because we never know when we're going to be hit with a life-changing obstacle. Thank you, Taya.
I feel like everyone wants to really see me cry on this podcast. Whew. Whew.
But that's just the proof right there. Your words can change. I know. Just hearing something, I'm sure there's been so many people who heard Mike's story. A lot of people I still go somewhere and all the time your story was coming up the other day. I'm talking to a friend, great person. She's actually a chief of police near here, and she knew you. She's a big fan of you. She's over in Gibbstown, Greenwich, and your name always comes up, Mike, about even I was at the Mummers Parade on New Year's. Your name came up right away. I just had so many people, and they'll listen to episode, and anybody from Paulsboro, when they listen to the show, they're trying to get into it. The first two episodes they listen to is Alex, Silvestro, and you, in no specific order, and two of the greatest episodes. So I always like throwing them episodes out. But I've had so many people mention, and now since Angela's on, I had so many people mention it. Just hearing both of you speak and everything, I think it's pretty cool stuff. Anything else you want to?
Great job, Donnie. You do a great job doing this, and I think when you have relentless pursuit of whatever your mission might be, if you have relentless pursuit, if you're resilient, there's times when we got to be resilient, right? You hit with adversity, but if you put in sweat equity, right? If you have relentless pursuit, you are resilient, and you put in sweat equity, you're going to be successful. You're not going to be stopped. Relentless pursuit's my business and my mantra, but being resilient and putting in sweat equity is a huge thing. And nothing's going to get accomplished without those things. And, Angela's going to be doing the same thing. She's going to have relentless pursuit. She's going to be resilient, and she'll be putting in sweat equity, and she's going to get through it. And, she mentioned she mentioned that she felt like she's not special, but it's clearly, she has to understand that she is special, because you have these people saying, people wouldn't be lying and calling up and saying things that aren't true. They're calling up saying how they feel about her, and she is special. Everybody's special, and sometimes we don't hold ourselves to that, but other people do, and that's the most important thing. And I think we need to take a step back sometimes and realize that, and that has to drive us, that we are special human beings. And she mentioned she's a woman of faith. Myself, got baptized this past October. There's things happen for a reason, and people get chosen for different things, and cancer chose the wrong person, but she is special. Everybody's special. Donnie's special. I'm special, and that goes back to that thing with best self. People don't sit around thinking about how great we are. We don't. We tend to think, the negative side, but in reality, we are, amazing human beings. We just got to work on being our best version, Donnie.
Yeah, and I think people hearing your story, and Angela's, even mine, but because your story where you are right now, you did all the great stuff. Everybody, we could sit here and talk about all your athletic stuff and achievements, and for Christ's sake, you played two division sports at the same year at Rutgers. You're in the Hall of Fame of one of the most famous football and wrestling schools in the nation, all that stuff. But I feel like your greatest achievements have come after you went through all that horrible stuff, when you fought addiction, suicide, you went through all the trauma, then abuse and all that stuff. And now I feel, where you're at now is amazing. So anybody, I feel, going through the hard times, addiction, whatever, they can look at you and look at the person and the wisdom you're sharing. You're Teacher of the Year in Glassboro this year, and they should just get hope from that, no matter how low somebody is. It's never, as long as you're breathing, as long as you're still fighting, you can be Mike Belh, you can be whoever, you can be the greatest version of yourself. Your greatest days are still ahead. And then to look at Angela on the other side, she's somebody going through something. She didn't choose this. She didn't wake up and say, I wanted this. And she could easily be sitting down saying, why me? But you heard, she said not once did she say that. People would understand. They would be like, all right, that's okay. But no, instead she stood up and said, bring it, Let's go. Let's battle. And I think anybody just watching that, no matter what battle you're going through, we all have different storms. I feel like both of these stories, Michael Allen Belh and Team Ange over here, I feel like anybody can just get so much from it. Ange, anything you want to share? You got this coming up. We got some time left before we get out.
Yeah, when you told me that Mike was joining us, of course, I love to read, so I did my research, and I have to say, the Relentless Pursuit, the 4 things you can control every day, are my favorite, and they're just resonating with me, because it can be applied to literally everything, anything, and everyone. And I really love that, Mike.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I have that up big in my classroom, so when kids are walking in, they see that. It's important. So it's important for me, but it's important for the kids to hear it every day too. And listen, when I'm saying it, I'm also saying it to myself.
Yeah, we definitely need more teachers like you. That's a cool thing. But you help a lot of people. Adults can learn so much from you, but you really specifically do so much for the kid. You do all that stuff at Glassboro. I remember when we first had you on, there was a lot of kids you inspired to reach out and said stuff, and you help a lot of people who've gone through stuff you've gone through as a kid, from broken homes and stuff. Mike, anything else you want to share? You shared all this stuff. We got Angela going to chemo this week, next week. Anything you want to leave us with, man?
I'm wishing Ange the best.
Thank
have
you.
relentless pursuit, resilience, and put in sweat equity. And listen, when we get our asses kicked, and we do at times, right? Because we're not the be all end all. Just begin again. Begin again. I tell myself that if I have an off day, if I'm trying to put a streak together or something, if I have a setback, Donnie, begin again. And that could be begin again right now in that moment. You're beginning again. You're starting fresh. And I think that's important, because we are going to have setbacks. And if you let setbacks drag you down or fester over, that becomes a problem. So if I can leave anybody with anything, get going with what you want to do. Set goals, have an action plan, and go after it with relentless pursuit, and understand that things, everything great didn't happen on a solo trip. You're going to need other people. You got to trust other people. And when you have a setback, keep going. Begin again. So that's what I would leave with people, Donnie.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for coming on, Michael Allen Belh. It's amazing. And again, anybody who wants to be part of Team Anne's, sit here while she battles, while she fights this courageous fight. Again, get on social media. We're gonna have these T-shirts out. All the proceeds are going to help her during this fight. She has so much going on. That's the last thing we want her to worry about. Angela, thank you so much for coming on. We're all
Thanks
here.
for having me again.
Your
Love
fight's
it.
our fight. We're all in this together. Hungry for Hope Nation. Thank you for joining. We're out of here. See you next week.
See you guys later.